There we go. Now it's recording on my end. So if you decide not to record on your side, it should be fine.
I did cloud recording also.
Okay.
On my side, I'm cloud recording and you are recording on the device.
Yes.
So we were going through the book.
I believe so. Yes. Software mainly, but yes.
Yeah, we went to the software from that contents of the book. Norman's book.
Oh, yes.
Here. We went to look for Jataka.
Yes. Got distracted. But it was a good distraction. I think I learned quite a lot.
That was planned actually. I wanted today itself, I wanted to show what tools I'm using to find things, and
It worked out well in the
it
end.
worked out well. So then Abhidhamma Pitaka has Dhammasangani Vibhanga Dhatu Katha Puggala Panyati Kathavattu Yamaka Patthana, the Abhidharma in Sanskrit. So he also has a section on that.
Did we have two Kathavattus? I thought I saw Kathavattu before too. Oh, am I? No, Vimanavattu. No, never mind.
You have
Vimanavattu.
Vimanavattu and Kuddaka Pata.
Right, not Kathavattu. Never mind.
There's only one Kathavattu, as far as I know. Kathavattu Pakarana, because it's in Abhidhamma, like a compendium. And then you have a set of books that are very early but not canonical, so they are called post-canonical texts. And so they have early prose texts and the early chronicles. Chronicle here means Vansakatha, and then early commentators, people like, actually, post-canonical, the prose texts names have not been given. I thought these are the names, but like Petaka Upadesa, like Pitaka Upadesa, giving advice on Tipitaka. That kind of a book has been written at that time. If you go to page 108, you find these post-canonical work. Anything that is written after the canon is post-canonical. And early commentators. So we looked at Attakathas, and these are the authors. Buddhaghosa, Buddhadatta, Mahanama, Upasena, and Dhammapala. So now you know that many commentaries, many Attakathas have been ascribed to Buddhaghosa, saying that he wrote them. But sometimes, because Buddhaghosa was so popular, somebody else would write it and put his name.
Name on it, okay.
For authenticity. So it's like that. And then later post-canonical texts, the later chronicles, the later commentators, Attakathas, Tikas. So these are later
So
editions.
these are after Buddhaghosa's writing, for example.
Yes, yes. Then later Abhidhamma texts, collection of edifying tales, maybe Amavatura Buddhasarna like ones. Oh no, maybe not. Maybe not, because those are Sinhalese. And Kavya works, prophetic texts, I think perhaps about Metteya Buddha, Maitri Buddha. Medical texts, grammatical and lexicographical works, poetic and prosody, books on discipline, boundary texts, anthologies, cosmology, wisdom texts, Jataka collections, biographical works, so cosmology books. These are also here. Okay, maybe we should go to page 174 to find out what cosmological is. Again, this is really getting distracted.
Yes, cosmology is interesting. Buddhist cosmology.
Always.
Oh, very interesting. I started digging into cosmology, I think, first semester, when one of you mentioned, either you or Vikupananda mentioned of it. It's
Maybe.
fascinating, fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe everything, but I guess either I have to believe or not believe. So there's no non-binary decision there. So I'm opting to believe it. It's
Mm-hmm.
fascinating.
So this is a book called Loka Santiti, the oldest extant Pali text we have, which deals exclusively with the subject of cosmology in the Loka Panyati.
Mm.
The lower limit to its date of compilation is provided by the fact that it was one of the sources employed by the author of the Tribhumi Katha, which was composed in Siamese. It seems probable that the Lokapanyati is the work of an unknown author,
So
writing.
question. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. Question
No,
is, did Buddha himself talk about cosmology, or are these things? I mean, it seems like these are post-canonical books.
no, no,
What is?
no. The Buddha himself talked.
Okay, okay,
He then said many things, discouraging people on
not to go, not to
focusing
go on
on
the right.
Nibbana, but not on that.
Mm,
If
mm,
he encouraged, you can believe how many things people would have written about it.
right.
It's only needed that encouragement. So he said four things. Sattva Vishaya is achintya, which means thinking about how beings are born, where they
Mm.
are born. It's
It's not
unthinkable.
going to help you to your ultimate cause.
Yeah.
Okay.
Karma, Loka. Loka is the cosmology aspect.
Mm.
And Sattva, Loka, Karma. One more thing is unthinkable. So,
Mm.
yeah. So these are unthinkable stuff. So that's that book. And back
Okay.
to the syllabus. So this is another book that I remember seeing. I trust that we'll find a copy somewhere. Uh, yeah. So, oh no, it's only a, looks like we can't find it. If it is around,
Might be in archives.
oh, well, this is not. Somebody may have it somewhere.
Yeah. I'm sure if I look big enough, I'll find it. Last
Is
time I
we
found only.
find our syllabus here,
Say it again.
the syllabus that we are working.
It's already indexed. Oh, really? 5 days ago. How? We make it available
Somebody may have.
somewhere?
No, no, no. No, they are, oh, this is me. I was downloading a book, and before you download something, you had to upload something. So the
Ah,
first
okay.
available was me
Okay.
uploading.
Okay.
I should remove this because my email is there.
Yes.
Yeah. I will,
Unsolicited emails.
no, no, yeah, that's a bad place for it to be.
Interesting.
I will work on that. So take a note on that.
Is the right book? I think I found the book.
You did.
I did. Copy. Copy link address. Chat. Here you go.
Can you share the screen with me?
Oh, yes, I can try to do that too. Uh, I just put the link on the chat if you in case you want to download it on your end. But I can share the screen.
I do.
But I think I need your permission to do that to share the screen. There we go.
Oh,
That's the one.
that's
Forgotten
okay.
books.
Like, is that a place you go
No,
to?
I just looked up the name and it came up.
Interesting. Google is so biased.
You well when you use Google for a while, you know what to ask from Google. Sometimes you don't have to ask everything. You just have to ask few things.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
I searched for what did I query? I queried Pali literature of Burma PDF. And if that didn't
Huh.
work, I have another trick up my sleeve that I would have tried. So I usually try different things when I'm very specific about finding something.
Yeah, I think this book is, I think, randomly put in here because this could be, I mean, it's interesting we know that this book exists. Where's the content of it? So, the classical Pali literature, arrival of the Pali Tripitaka in Burma. So this is, I didn't see the contents anywhere. So forgotten books. Interesting.
No, doesn't look like it. It seems like jump.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have that. So let's not
Right.
waste our time on that. So let me do a new share. Yeah, I think by clicking new share, we can look at other books. And then they have Warder, AK, the Pali Canon and its commentaries. Please also try to find that.
Yes.
And K. Anuruddha, The Buddhist Councils, Hong Kong. I haven't seen the book. G.C. Pandey, Studies in the Origins of Buddhism. Border, AK, Indian Buddhism.
So,
Uh,
Kakapali book, I think you shared it with us last
oh, not
semester.
that book.
Oh, this is a different one.
This is not that. This is
Oh dear. Okay.
about councils.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I have the last two books with me. I personally bought a couple of books because I thought
Oh,
they read well. So I think I have hard copies of the last two books, if not at least one of those with
I
me for
may
sure.
have the last two in PDF.
Yes. PDF, yes. I think I found PDFs and shared it with everyone last semester. I ended up buying the book. Out of the 5 or 6 books, I ended up buying a couple of books. I think it might be the Warder's book and Pandey's book because I thought they read really well. They had a lot of good information.
Yeah, so because these books are there, and it will be interesting for us to read something in the first hour uh, in the expansion of our time.
Okay.
So we know what is in there.
Okay.
And class time, I think, can be used for that. What we intend to do by that is to just skip through and read together.
Okay.
So and find what is in there.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, and because we have 7 books, and in addition to that, we have the Pali sources that we are working with,
Yes.
and that way, I think our time will be, it's worth
Mm.
spending time on these. So
I'm perfectly fine if you just assign things for me to do and I'm doing it on my own too. So that way you can save some time on your end to work on at least finishing up the dissertation. So I'm comfortable with that as well.
yeah,
Wh-
thank
wh-
you.
whatever works for you, just burden on me and I'll follow up and do the work you ask me to do.
Yeah, well, you see, if you look at the time of these books, like one of this is written in 1958, and very old books.
Hmm.
So Um, for you to work on, uh,
So my question is, these are good reading books, but how is that going to be directly related
to
to
the
the
course.
course objectives? Yes.
The first two are,
Okay.
this third one is about Burma, but
Mm,
it's good to know.
mm,
And then the fourth one is directly related again.
okay.
Fifth one, not so much. Sixth and seventh, it's just the background stuff.
Okay.
Um, well, what you can do is find something that you didn't know in
Sure.
if you read the first book,
Sure.
and then share it with me so we can go there and discover.
Okay.
So so you will not spend time reading things that you know.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's a vague assignment, but nothing to
That's
write.
fine. Yes, makes sense.
Take notes as you go if you want.
Sure thing.
Right. So we'll go through the syllabus. This is where we are today, up to 11:45. We were actually our times are different, so generally this is for me. It's 9:30 to 12:45,
Yes.
excluding that 30 minutes I took.
We can change the timing on the document if that's helpful.
Yeah,
It's
but
just shifting time
we
zones,
know.
nothing else.
Yeah. So looks like we are on the course introduction and on syllabus and requirements are just readings, of course, attendance, and so we know. And the class structure, now we are kind of forming the structure as we go. Looks like at least I like to spend that 1 hour, the first 1 hour in a book.
Okay.
Um, so that way so could be the introduction, could be something else, where you want to have some knowledge in because you are curious about this. and and then we will go to other things like readings. So the introduction to Theravada Tipitaka, I think, is where we are. Or that's what we went through when we went through K.R. Norman's book, Pali literature, is his contents,
Hmm.
and also when we went through the software. So basically, a little bit more in-depth view about it, and there's more to that. So maybe today we can also begin reading about Pali Nikayas, right? So, and then go to, well, it's the next day we go to Chakkupalavattu. There's readings for that too in the
Okay.
book I shared in email.
Yes.
Um, just learning the story. So I think it's best you read the story in English first,
Okay.
and then begin reading it in Pali, and then making the connections. So Chakkupala Vattu goes on up to August 2nd
Mm.
afternoon. We may not stick to this, or maybe we will make adjustments as we go. And then we go to Brahma Sanyutta. Brahma Sanyutta is, I think, about 2-3 days work.
Okay.
So there is a homework, some short paragraph on Brahma Sanyutta. And we have the homework format that was shared
Mm.
by Venerable Kongyan. Mm. And then on August 29th, almost the end of next month, we go to Anguttara Nikaya. We spend about 1 month in Anguttara Nikaya. I have divided from first Vagga uh, to the fourth Vagga.
Mm-hmm.
First 4 aggas was what they included. And we have September 12th, Udana Pali Chandavagga, and we read that for 2 days. And we go to, actually, more than 2 days, almost half a month.
Mm.
And then here I put Satipatthana Sutta. I'm not sure if we did that in any other classes. Did you?
Um, I don't think we did it in a structural manner. I think you might have introduced it in the other class. I don't think we deep dived on it.
Okay. Yeah, I shared the book that I wrote on this. And
Yes.
it has Pali and English, so we can change the sutra if you are interested in any other sutras. And so I have Satipatthana Sutta put in there. So that's when I said we can, this is like leaving it open.
Open. Yes, open ended. I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. Okay, so the topic structure here, this is adapted from what we were given.
Mm-hmm.
We have an overview, a brief introduction, historical background, lineage, author, commentator, or key person, passages, or we use essence, core concepts, its influence, discussion. So I think today itself we can open a book on Pali Nikayas. So which one will you select? Not Burma one. Let's go to the first one. And in the Nikayas. Well, let's begin with the Pali Chronicles, Buddhaghosa, successors, Buddhaghosa, the beginning of literary activity. We'll have to go from the beginning. I still feel like we should go with Norman's book.
Okay.
Because he's a little bit more straightforward. And how did we?
I think we downloaded it. Maybe I can share the link one more time. I'm pretty sure we found it. Where is that thing? This one was it. Copy. You go, Bante. You also found it on your end as well.
This last one.
Yes.
You see it?
Yes, I can see it.
That's also quite similar. We'll see. If we find it interesting, we will go.
Okay.
So this is a lengthy discussion about what is Pali. That's going to be boring. And then history of Theravada tradition. But I think when they teach us Pali, this is the first lesson they give us. What is Pali?
Even in Sri Lankan monasteries?
In universities.
Ah, using
Yeah.
this kind of a book?
Like why the name Pali is used for.
Ah, okay. I understand.
The dialect of Middle Indo-Aryan, which is found in the text of the Theravadin Buddhists and usually called Pali by European scholars, is nowhere so called in the Theravadin canon. Interesting. So it's a dialect, and in Middle Indo-Aryan, So it's a language class. Middle Indo-Aryan is a language class. So it's a dialect. It's a dialect named Pali. The word Pali is found in the chronicles and the commentaries upon the canon, but there it has the meaning canon and is used in the sense of a canonical text or phrases as opposed to the commentary. Okay, I lost connection in there. The word Pali is found in the chronicles, so meaning Vanshakatha has the word Pali, and the commentaries upon the canon. So the commentaries also use that word, but there it has the meaning canon and is used in the sense of a canonical text.
I see. Interesting.
So Pali text or canonical text are synonymous, same thing. Or a phrase as opposed to the commentary. So when they say Pali, it's talking about original book. If not, they will say Attakatha Pali or something. This usage is made clear by the fact that the word Pali sometimes alternates with Tanti. That's another word like Tanti. So if you go to footnote 3, there is an example for that.
Pali, 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 Naya.
So 3. I'm sorry, I wasn't seeing Tanti in it.
Rupang.
This has to have it, right? But this is a footnote for Imang Pali Nayanu Rupang Sangwannanang Dani Samarabhisang
Amarvisa.
with Manoramang Bahasang Tan. Oh, there is Tanti also. Tanti Nayanu Chavikang Aropento. So there is that word, Tanti. So you can replace it with Pali Naya Anuchavikang Aropento. Okay. Imang, this Pali Naya Anurupang. Naya here, Pali Naya is Pali method. Anurupang means suitable according to Sangvananang. Like Vanana is commentary, Sangvananang is general commentary. Dani means Idani. That means now. Samarabhisam. I shall begin.
How do
So
you
I
know
shall.
all these things? By memory?
Oh, by usage. Are you impressed?
I am very impressed. I am struggling to figure out how to pronounce it. I was pronouncing it. What did I do? Pali Naru something, and you just broke it up like nothing. Pali Nayaru Nupang, and
Oh, I
on
should
top of it, you
separate.
are translating it on the fly, and I'm trying to catch up. Basically, fascinated by the way you do it.
Yeah, this is why you need to do it with the teacher first.
I suppose.
So I'm not familiar with it, but I try to guess.
Mm.
And because of my usage, I think I get it. So with Manoramang, Bhasang, so Manoramang, beautiful language.
Basa.
Yeah. Tanti Nayanu Anuchavikam. So Tanti Naya means again Pali Naya or Pali method Anuchavikam. That I have to make a guess here. But Aropento means like Aropane karna,
Okay.
like converting it to
Yes.
something. So this is the commentator saying um, the general gist here is that he is writing a commentary, but he's wanting to adapt to the Pali method, Pali tradition. He's saying that I'm not going to introduce anything new. I'm going to go with Tantinaya or Pali Naya, Pali method. So don't be afraid that I'm going to damage the Tripitaka. by what I do, meaning the commentaries that I give. So this is Buddha Ghosa saying like, have confidence in me. I'm not changing the Pali method. All you will read after I write commentaries is the same Pali Naya, same Pali method. So, but I want to go with you to the dictionary. Where was it? We had it before.
I think you have a bookmark. The first bookmark you have there.
I have, but also it loads faster
You
like
should
that.
just search.
Yeah.
Jovika Patirupa.
So that which is proper, I think, but with a is the opposite, meaning not right, not proper. So here they were talking about where were we? We were here.
Norman's book,
So
yes.
Tantinaya Anucharikam, meaning proper with the Pali method,
Mm.
Aropento,
Mm.
converting to the proper method. So what we learned here is that we have the Pali, the word Pali, and Tantipada. When somebody says this is Tantipada, at some point in the history, the word Tanti has been used for Pali, interchangeable, interchangeably. That's what we get.
So, am I reading this correctly? Pali by itself is not a language. I got that impression from the first paragraph here. Maybe I'm misreading it. The first paragraph said something to the effect the dialect which is found in texts, but Pali by itself is not identified in the canon, Theravadin canon. The word Pali is found in
Oh,
chronicles and commentaries.
it's just the word, but at that time, as you will find out, they used Magadhi also to name the language.
So this is just labeling.
This is about labeling.
Okay.
The language existed, but they didn't name it as Pali.
Oh, I understand. Okay. Okay. So the labeling came after the canon.
Yeah.
Canon was written in something when the canon was written, but no one knew what the well.
Oh, Canon is
They,
written in Pali.
say it again, please.
It's written in Pali.
It was written in Pali, but at the time it was written, it was not identified as Pali. Am I correct? It was identified
Yes.
as maybe Magadhi or something else.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah. It would seem that the name Pali is based upon a misunderstanding of the compound Pali Bhasa, language of the canon, where the word
Ah,
Pali was taken to stand for the name of particular Bhasa,
Bhasha.
as a result of which the word was applied to the language of both canon and commentaries. So Pali Bhasa could mean that canon Bhasa.
Mm,
So because Pali then means canon.
mm.
Canon Bhasa then became known as a language, Pali. These are very nuanced things.
Fascinating, yeah.
Yeah, there
Because
is
if I remember,
evidence.
yeah, if I remember right, Pali literally means Pali, right? Pali or verses.
Yeah, that's Sinhalese interpretation.
So Pali Bhasha does not necessarily identify a language by itself, at least according to this author. It's just
Yeah,
canon is written in verses, sort of,
and process.
right? But someone somehow later interpreted it as Pali itself is the language.
Yes.
Fascinating.
someone began using the word Pali to name the language.
It's like Google, if you think about it.
Yeah,
The
became a
actual
word.
action is searching, but now people have usage. No one
Yeah,
use the word searching. We all Google.
yeah. See, exactly. And
Makes
when
sense.
Norman wrote this book, I'm sure Google didn't exist.
Right, right.
So,
Hmm.
so there is evidence that this misunderstanding occurred several centuries ago. Childers, this is R.C. Childers, stated that the English usage was taken from the Sinhalese, who used the word in the same way.
Hmm.
So English people started using the word Pali from our,
So it's our fault.
yeah. This probably accounts for Claus' adoption of the name when he published his grammar in 1824. Burnouf and Lassen also used the name Pali in their essay on Pali grammar, which was published in 1826. But in the survey of Pali studies up to that year included in that work, Burnouf pointed out that the first person to mention Pali was Simon de la Lobere, something, who visited Siam in 1687 and 88 and published a description of the kingdom of Siam in 1691. So about 5 years later, 4 years later, he published a description about Kingdom of Siam, which was translated into English in 1693. Really,
English that old?
things have happened.
Yeah. 1693.
It's a long time ago.
So English has not even come to Sri Lanka by then, right?
So he was the first person to mention Pali
Hmm.
in English.
Now I'm trying to think about the timeline because that person referred to a language called Pali in 1693. But when did the English came to Sri Lanka? It was 1818.
1800s, yeah.
Yeah, so 200 years before.
Yes. But
So
Thai people got Upasampada from us.
before the English came to Sri Lanka, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, hmm.
So there you
Possible.
go. We we brainstormed them, and they also we lost Buddhism, and they did not
It was
brainstorm. Well,
right. It
we
was
didn't
16.
brainwash. So
Right. It's a term.
ready?
Yes.
It is clear from this account that in Thailand, in the late 17th century, the name Pali was already being used of the language of the Theravadin text. This man noted that, in contrast to Thai, which was a monosyllabic language, Bali was inflected, just like the language of Europe. He also drew attention to the fact that the names for the days of the week were similar in Pali and Sanskrit. The days and week names are similar, and reported that he had been told that there were similarities between Pali and the languages spoken near Coromandel. He commented that this was not surprising in view of the fact that the Buddha was reported to have been the son of a king of Ceylon.
Hmm? Buddha was reported to have been the son of a king of Ceylon.
That is a mistake.
That's a big mistake.
Well, I think Norman should know that the the politics between Buddhist politics between Thailand and
Right.
stuff like that. So let me close the door because of the birds. When they hear my voice, there are two birds living in a room.
Ah,
Yeah.
is
Two
Coromandel?
parakeets and they want to talk.
Oh, really? Do they
Yeah.
repeat what you say, or they just chirp?
They're smart, so but they just make a big noise as if they are helping when they are not.
What
The
is
star,
Coromandel? I was trying to look up Coromandel.
I think
Spoken
it's an
near
area.
Coromandel. What Coromandel?
We saw it
No, you were just there. Coromandel
up here.
Peninsula. On the same page, we go further down. There we go, right there in front of you. Pali and King of Ceylon, 2 lines above King of Ceylon. At the 2 lines before the end of the second paragraph would be the correct way to say it, I guess.
Yeah, here.
Coromandel. Where is Coromandel Peninsula? Coromandel Peninsula, according to Google, is. Oh, that's probably not going to be it. It's somewhere in New Zealand. That's not going to work. Coromandel, India. Coromandel Coast is the southeast coast region of Indian subcontinent. Okay. Southern east coast. Okay. What is in southern east
See
coast?
this.
Indian Muslim Coromandel Coast. Coromandel Coast supplied Indian Muslim.
Eunuchs to the Thai palace. Eunuch is a pandak, I think, like genderless people
Oh dear.
to the Thai palace and court of Siam.
Huh. What in the world is going on? Okay. Chennai,
It,
Visakhapatnam, Madurai, Chennai. Okay.
Thai at times asked eunuchs from China to visit the court in Thailand and advised them on court rituals since they held them in high regard.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Interesting.
okay.
Fascinating.
We are not going to learn any Pali from that.
No, no. But it's fascinating to study later, I guess, on a separate track.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Coming back.
The Sasanavansa written in Burma in 1861. So this is before.
Now the British are ruling Sri Lanka.
Now the British are ruling Sri Lanka. Uses the word. So Sasanavansa uses the word Pali in a context where it seems to be the name of a language. So that's the Sasanavansa is a chronicle, Vansakatha, written in Burma. And he used the word Pali. Since Sasanavansa is based upon an earlier Burmese text, the usage of the name Pali in Burma is probably earlier than would appear. It seems unlikely that the usage arose independently in all three countries, but in the present state of our knowledge, it doesn't seem possible to determine where the misunderstanding first occurred. The history and development of the Pali language. The commentaries state that the language spoken by the Buddha, which is the language of the canon, is Magadhi.
Magadhi.
Here we go. So the language existed, but had a different name. This is referred to as the Mula Bahasa, the root language of all languages, and the language which a child would speak naturally if it heard no other languages spoken. Interesting. This is something that I never believed. And you knowing the language that your children speak, they don't speak Pali at all.
No. I can't figure out what the truth behind that statement. I mean,
Somebody wanted to say that
It's so
somebody
easy,
wanted to
maybe.
say that, but it
Yeah.
went in many directions
Right.
in many books, so it's a fact. But one thing is, when you speak Hindi,
Mm,
it's beautiful.
mm,
Soft Hindi, you understand
mhm.
as soft Hindi. Harsh Hindi, you understand as harsh Hindi, like that. An examination of the Pali Canon shows clearly that portions, at least, of it were either composed or transmitted through one or more other dialects of Middle Indo-Aryan before being turned into the version which exists at present. It can be shown that these dialects included those where the voicing of intervocalic consonants took place, or their reduction to y or r became l. So this is the Thai thing also.
Mm.
Uh, they can say y and r. I think r is for them is l.
I see.
So when languages exchanged, I'm sure Sri Lanka also got a little bit of that.
Mm.
Uh, so Mara for Thai people is Mala.
Which has a completely different meaning. Wow.
Yeah, but
In
if
Sinhalese.
the pronunciation, they are trying to say Mara because it's a problem with their language.
I see.
We think what we know is correct, they think what they know is correct.
Right. Right.
So, and they have produced more Pali works than we have.
Mm.
My professor says we have not done anything.
Mm. Mm.
Sinhalese. We have, but many good things have happened in other two
Other
countries,
places.
Burma and
Mm.
Thailand.
Right. I guess the main contribution might be canonization, but even that was not
Yeah,
done in Sinhalese. It was done in Sri Lanka. That's all.
yeah, yeah. So some of the Pali material came from or through dialects where the absolutive was in utta, the nominative singular in a, or the locative plural in ahi. So it's good you know these,
Mm-hmm.
what these are. We are not going to go into details. It is clear, therefore, that the statement that the canon is in one dialect, whether Magadhi or anything else, cannot be true of all of it. So it can be just one dialect. It has to be many. What we know of Magadhi as described by the grammarians in later times, however, enables us to say that Pali is not Magadhi. And although we have not direct evidence about the characteristics of Magadhi in the centuries before Asoka, we can deduce with some certainty that Pali does not agree with that either. So it's not Asokan. Uh, Before Ashokan time, we don't have evidence.
Mm.
Uh, what we know of Magadhi as described by the grammarians in later times, however, enables us to say that Pali is not Magadhi. And although we have no direct evidence about the characteristics of Magadhi in the centuries before Asoka, we can deduce with some certainty that Pali does not agree with that either. So if you were to find something older, that may not be exactly what you are looking for.
Mm.
So there may be dialectical changes,
Mm.
but because it's either developed to Sanskrit or Hindi, the earliest poems are different from what they are using now. Like Google is introduced to the language.
Mm. Mm.
So like 500 years ago, nobody knew about Google. Um, so let's continue. It would seem likely that because the texts tell of the Buddha at times preaching in Magadha, although none of the scenes of the great events in his life was situated within the boundaries of Magadha, as we know it in historical times. The tradition arose that all his sermons were preached in the dialect of that region of North India.
Mm.
It is also possible that the prestige attaching to Magadha, and by implication to Magadhi, during the time of the Mauryan kings, and also the way in which the Magadhi of the original Asokan edicts was everywhere in India translated into the local dialect or language, led to the taking over by the Buddhists at about the time of the council, which the Theravadin tradition reports was held during the region of Ashoka, of the idea that their ruler too employed such a language. Well, I think also this has something to do with where the Buddha was born, right? Where this Suddhodana belongs. Uh, is he
Kap,
Magadha?
no, not Magad. Suddhodana, Savat Nur. No, not Savat.
Kimbulwatpura.
Kimbulwatpura. Yes. Kapilavatthu. That was different. Kimbulwat is Kapilavattu? Is that Kapilavattu? No.
Yeah, Kapilavatthu.
Yes. I was going to say Kapilavattu.
You seeing what I am searching?
Yes. Ancient city of Kapilavattu.
See?
Oh, habitat an area in Greater Magadha, situated at present-day Nepal and North America. It's Kapila. So Kapilavastu was Magadha. So that was within Magadha.
Within the great area, like Michigan.
Yes.
Detroit is Michigan. So like St. Louis in Missouri.
Yes. Yes.
Or Chicago, sort of like in
Yeah.
Midwest.
Where was
So
it
it's
was?
easily, I mean, I'm not sure why this author is not seeing that. This has to be from the language that the Buddha spoke, of course. This author, they miss some details, right?
It seems like he missed quite a lot of obvious details. He
Yeah,
earlier referenced Buddha as a son of a Ceylon king, which is
yeah.
a big mistake, I
And
think.
he didn't see Buddhism traveling between these countries for Upasampada.
Maybe
Right?
he's just citing people. Maybe he's not giving his opinion. He's just. Did he have
Yeah,
footnotes? Maybe not. Or not even that.
no.
No. Right. So the so even this statement he's just making right now, his claim right now about Magadha and its boundary, is not completely
Yeah.
accurate either, because Kapilavastu is in Magadha boundary, within
What he's
Magadha.
going to say here is interesting. Yeah, Kapilavatthu, now we know, easily is in that greater area of Magadha.
Hmm.
Although there is some doubt about the interpretation of the phrase the Buddha used when asked if it was permissible to translate his sermons to Sanskrit or
Mm.
Devanagari,
Mm.
it is generally agreed that he did not preach in Sanskrit, but employed the dialect or language of the area
Area he was
where he
preaching.
was preaching.
Mm.
Well, not well because it's a great area,
Mm.
and he dwelled in among the educated
Mm.
people, usually kings and royals and so many mostly. So they knew what he was teaching. Like Hindi people can understand Marathi. It's
Mm.
like that.
Mm.
So when somebody writes, actually they have to be living in a big country when they write a book like this,
Mm.
to understand how vivid the language colors are. So let's see. We must assume that his sermons and utterances was remembered by his followers and his
His audience.
audiences as they heard them. In the course of time, during his lifetime and after his death, collections must have been made of his words and translations or redactions of these must have been made as the need arose, either because the collections were being taken into an area where a different dialect or language was spoken, or because as time he's just writing went by, his words became less intelligible as their language became more archaic. As Buddhism became established in various parts of North India, there must have been an attempt made to render all the holdings of any particular vihara, which were probably still in various dialects as they had been remembered, roughly homogeneous in language, although we must bear in mind the fact that as the dialects of North India had probably not diverged greatly from each other in the 4th and 3rd centuries BC, absolute perfection of translation was not essential. The anomalous forms in Pali mentioned above probably represent the remnants of recensions in other dialects which had not been completely translated. Theravadian tradition tells of councils, sangitis, being held to recite the canon, of which the third was held in the time of Asoka. And although the discrepancies with the northern tradition cast doubt about this, there must have been gatherings of some sort where recitations took place, and the imprimatur of the Sangha was bestowed. Such councils would inevitably have led to a normalization of the language of the canon to a greater or less extent, maybe greater extent. So imprimatur, can I copy it? Do a search. Oh yeah, good. Imprimatur. Imprimatur, an official license by the Roman Catholic Church to print an ecclesiastical or religious book. Okay. Imprimatur. 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 Okay, thank you for that word. So we are back in here. Are you finding it interesting? Okay. You want to continue?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
If that's your plan, yes.
Let's see where they are going. Because if you read it alone, there won't be any discussion like this. Since this normalized language was an ecclesiastical one, being recited by, you know what ecclesiastical?
No, I have no idea. That's
Oh,
another
okay.
Christian
So
research.
it's good you tell me that. Sort of I could guess, but because I have seen it. Ecclesiastical. Relating to the Christian church or its clergy. So
Hierarchy.
what they're trying to say is since this normalized language was sort of like a
Hierarchical.
religious language, sacred and hierarchical, so being recited by monks who probably spoke a variety of languages or dialects, there is no necessity to assume that it coincided exactly with any one particular spoken language. They didn't speak it other times, but they spoke it among the religious groups, religious gatherings. So it has been claimed in the case of Pali that as there are resemblances between it and the Girinar dialect of the Asokan inscriptions, and also between it and the language of the Hati Gumpha inscriptions, Pali must have been the language of one or other of these two areas. Very interesting. A careful examination of the language of these inscriptions shows that Pali is not identical with either of them. And there is, moreover, some doubt about the language of the Girnar version of the Ashokan inscriptions, since it is possible that it represents, in part at least, the scribes' attempt to convert the Eastern dialect He must have been received from Pataliputra into what he thought was appropriate to the region in which the edict was being promulgated, rather than the actual dialect of that region. I don't understand any of that. Let's skip. The language of the Hathi Gumpa inscription, although it agrees with Pali in the retention of most intervocalic consonants, and in the nominative singular in no in o, nevertheless differs in that the absolute ending is tha, and with two doubtful exceptions there are no consonant groups containing r. He's a linguist, so he does all these language things. I don't need to know that. While it's not impossible that there existed in India in 3rd century BC an unattested dialect of Middle Indo-Aryan which had all the features of Pali, the fact that some of the consonant clusters found in Pali are unhistoric and must therefore represent incorrect attempts at back formation. Example, Diswa, which cannot be from Drustva, and Atraja, which cannot be from Atmaja, makes it more likely that by the 3rd century BC, the dialect of the canonical texts of the Theravadins conformed to the general pattern of Middle Indo-Aryan dialects of that time, and all consonant clusters had either been assimilated or resolved. It is probable that this represented the form of the language of the Theravadin canon at the time of the region of Ashoka, which was perhaps the lingua franca of the Buddhists of Eastern India, and not very different from the language of the Hathi Gumpa inscriptions. So lingua franca is like an international language,
Standard.
standard. At some unknown date, probably around the end of Ashoka's region, 235 BC, the importance of Sanskrit, which had been in eclipse, began to rise again. And as we can see from the progressive Sanskritization of the Mathura inscriptions and the non-Pali schools of Buddhism, an attempt was made to translate from the Middle Indo-Aryan dialects into Sanskrit. It is probable that this would have been done in a haphazard way at first, in the same way as the early texts had been remembered and translated from dialect to dialect. With the crystallization of the sects and schools, and with the increased use of writing from the time of Asoka onwards, it is probable that the use of Sanskritized forms by Theravadins became more standardized. So he's making a connection with why some words look like Sanskrit, not Pali. The tradition recorded in the Sinhalese chronicles states that the Theravadin canon was written down during the 1st century BC as a result of threats to the Sangha from famine, war, and the growing power of the Abhayagiri Vihara, to which the king was more favorably disposed. There is no reason to reject this tradition because there are indications that texts were already being written down before this date. It seems probable that Sanskritization of Pali was virtually fixed at the stage it had reached by the time of commission to writing, and except for any changes made later by the scribes for the sake of consistency, no further progress was made with the restoration of consonant groups. Those changes which had been made in a haphazard way, as already stated, had probably occurred for specific religious or cultural reasons. It is, for example, probable that the authentic Middle Indo-Aryan form Brahmana or Brahman had been replaced by the Sanskrit form Brahmana because of the strongly anti-Brahmanical flavor of the Buddha's teaching. He's an interesting observer. It was perhaps of little value to condemn the Brahmins or to maintain that a Buddhist Brahman was better than a true-born Brahman. Yeah, true. It's always found Arahant is a Brahman in Buddha's words because they were high class.
Right, right.
The Buddha didn't like it. fact that he was from a royal family, he could say anything. But if the Buddha was from a low caste family, he wouldn't
People
say
wouldn't
anything.
listen to him, right?
Nobody would listen to him.
So I wanted to jump back to something in the previous paragraph, if you wouldn't mind,
I wouldn't
about
mind.
the Abhayagiri Vihara. So Abhayagiri Vihara, if I'm
It's Mahayana.
Mahayana. So
Yeah,
my question is, since Mahayana came to Sri Lanka from somewhere, where exactly?
somewhere in India.
So Mahayana and Theravada coexisted in India,
Yeah,
and
wasn't even named Mahayana Theravada. Only English people who wrote later named it as Mahayana and Theravada.
they were called earlier. They were called Abhayagiri Vihara and oh,
Well,
Arya.
Abhayagiri, because like Mahamevnava right now,
Hmm.
Mahamevnava is popular and they have their own ways of doing things.
Okay, that Mahamevnava. Okay, I was
Yeah,
thinking about other Mahamevnava. The
yeah, yeah,
Mahamevnava, Asapu
right.
Mahamevnava. Okay.
Yeah, that Asapur is like lucidified Sinhala, and they presented it to people in a way that they can understand.
Hmm.
So it became a trend. So Abhayagiri was like that, introducing Buddha mantras, statues, bodhisattvas, and the king was supporting them.
So
But this guy, maybe he's mistaking it to the first century time. I think it happened even later.
the term Abhayagiri Vihara here.
If you want to
There was
Google about Abhayagiri Vihara, maybe you'll find something.
bottom line. There was two sects even right after Buddha's passing away. There were two different sects.
Oh yeah, Mahasangika and Theravada.
Mahasangika later became Abhayagiri Mahayana. Am I correct?
It's a branch of it, not
Exactly the same.
directly.
I see.
Yeah, not
I see.
a direct connection. So it's founded in the second century BC. Yeah, I think the author is correct here. So it became an international institution by first century AD. So I think second century is before the first century BC, because first century is closer to Christ.
King Valagamba and Abhayagiri.
It was an international center. This is not a joke.
Say it again, please.
It was an international place, not a joke. Oh, I should actually have my speak. Do you hear me better?
I can hear you. I'm hearing you just fine.
I left it just lying.
No, I was hearing you just fine, to be honest
I
with you.
think I'm sharing computer sound with you, so maybe that's why. Okay. But do you want to get distracted to reading about Abhayagiri?
Well, it has some context. I'm trying to understand the context here. So there's two sects clearly. When exactly that formed, I don't understand. That's fine. We can skip that detail. But there's two sects, and my question is, where did the Abhayagiri sect? How did the Abhayagiri sect come to Sri Lanka? That also came from India.
Yeah, well, we had to read that then. Abhayagiri Vihara was a major monastery site of Mahayana Theravada and Vajrayana Buddhism that was situated in Anuradhapura, Sri Lanka. It's one of the most extensive ruins in the world and one of the most sacred Buddhist pilgrimage cities in the nation.
So this,
Historically,
so this Wikipedia entry is on the Abhayagiri Chaitya, Abhayagiri Vihara, right? But
yeah,
I think in the book, Norman's book, Abhayagiri Vihara refers to a sect. If I remember, if I understood it correctly, Vihara does not necessarily mean Chaitya. Vihara probably means a sect or a grouping or some sort of a categorization. That's what I thought I understood in Norman's book. Vihara.
he says he says about Abhayagiri as a sect, but only here we may find where they came from and
Oh,
what.
okay. Okay. Fair enough.
So historically, it was a great monastic center as well as a royal capital with magnificent monasteries rising to many stories, roofed with gilt bronze or tiles of burnt clay glazed in brilliant colors to the north of the city, encircled by great walls and containing elaborate bathing ponds carved and mounts all that. Abhegiri Daga surrounding the Hamtugap. Okay, the term Abhegiri Vihara refers not only to the complex of monastic buildings but also fraternity, you see,
Mm-hmm.
of Buddhist monks or Sangha, which maintain its own historical records, traditions, and way of life. Founded in the 2nd century BC, it had grown into an international institution by the 1st century AD, attracting schools from all over the world and encompassing all shades of Buddhist philosophy. Its influence can be traced to the uh,
It's other
parts of
parts
the
of the
world
world.
through branches established elsewhere. Thus, Abhayagiri Vihara developed as a great institution vis-a-vis the Mahavihara and the Jetavana Buddhist monastic sects in the ancient Sri Lankan capital of Anuradhapura. So, same like Mahavihara or Jetavana traditions. Um,
So is Jetavana tradition attributed to Theravada? I'm trying to basically understand the historic context here. So,
so, we'll have to go there to find out.
okay,
I'm thinking that it's not.
just
Yeah, it's a extension between Theravada and Mahayana.
Mahayana, right?
Yeah,
The structure is significant in the island's history as it represents the tension within Theravada and Mahayana sects of Buddhism. It is also significant in recorded history as one of the tallest structures in the ancient world,
yeah.
the tallest non-pyramidical building. Yes, that part we
So
both
this is
probably
the
know.
sect.
Stupa belongs to the Sagalika. Sagalika is that
Sagalika sect. Yeah,
Sagalika
yeah,
sect. Is that a term that you heard before?
yeah,
Sagalika? Is that
yeah, yeah,
something that you learn in Pirivena?
yeah, yeah, yeah. We
So
are
help
taught
me.
these for advanced level Buddhist culture.
So help me understand from your Pirivena exposure what these sects are and how they came about. I guess perhaps
Oh,
that will help me.
Sagalika is like a caste.
Sagalika
Sag-
is a caste within
yeah.
Buddhist
Oh yeah, there are castes like.
within Buddhist monastics.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense because that was the whole point of Buddha's teaching, right? Not to have castes. So
No, no, there is.
I see.
There are, and they are still existent, and Buddha would not like it, will condemn it. But it happened for social reasons because now the king frequently visited monks,
Mm.
and there at that time, lay people who are from low caste had to give the way to the king when he was on the road
Mm.
going somewhere.
Mm.
Meaning these people have to disappear or like rise from their seat.
Like
So
ministries in Sri Lanka nowadays when they have a long line of vehicles and we have to
yeah,
just give the road to them.
yeah, give the road to them. But one time when the king came, one of the monks was shaking and he stood from his seat and later found out that he has been a newly ordained monk from a low caste.
Lower caste.
Lower caste.
Oh, so habitually he stood up.
He stood up and the king got upset. Monks like monks
Shouldn't do that. Right.
do that. And the king only lived for 5 years, but he made a rule that you shouldn't ordain people from that caste.
Oh dear.
You can ordain, but you shouldn't give the full ordination to them.
Oh dear.
So, and there was no time to change that because of the political turmoil. It became a thing. That's how Siam Nikaya couldn't ordain Amarapura Nikaya monks or low country monks. So they had to go to Burma or to Thailand to get full ordination and come back and establish Amarapura Nikaya and Ramanya Nikaya.
So okay, now I am getting somewhere. So we have Siam,
Amarapura and Ramanya.
Amarapura, and Ramanya.
Yeah,
Uh, so Siam is upcountry, roughly speaking.
yeah. But
Kandy.
also, I belong to Siam, so I'm from low country.
Now that's a complication. But I thought you were born in what we traditionally consider low country, southern part. Am I
Yeah,
right?
I am from low country, but I belong to Siam because my temple and many temples in South Sri Lanka still
Ah,
belong to
Siam.
Siam. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Amarapura is low country, not.
No. There is Udarata Amarapura and Pahatarata Amarapura. There are 21 subsectors of Amarapura. Like Siam has so many subsectors, and Ramanya also has so many It doesn't have to be Udarata Pahatarata.
So what is the
No.
classification here? Siam versus Amarapura versus Ramanya. What is the difference? I guess is the
Oh,
question. If it's not your,
Siam, literally speaking, only ordains monks from the Goigama caste.
so these are castes, or at
Yeah,
least something associated with castes.
yeah.
Oh dear.
Not
Okay,
not by upcountry or low country thing,
not geographical.
not geography. But
So
when
Siam.
Amarapura and Ramanya came, whoever wanted to become monks, they can become monks.
Okay, not just Kovigama people.
Not just Goigama people. So some people don't even know uh, any of these. They become, they come from all kinds of classes and scholar traditions and a lot of other things.
Okay.
So
So in Sri Lanka, we have primarily. It seems like we have primarily three caste-based classifications: Siam, Amarapura, and Ramanya. Am I correct?
oh yeah, more than three.
More than
But
three.
those are the main three historically.
What is Sagalika then? Where is Sagalika coming in?
Oh,
How
this was older than that.
older structure? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Help me understand in that context, Mahayana versus Theravada. Then, so is that also caste based?
Uh, Mahayana Theravada is not caste based.
It's philosophy based. Some disagreement
It's
on
the rules and sort of doctrinal differences,
doctrinal differences. Okay.
Vinaya and doctrinal differences.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought somehow, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought the term Abhayagiri Vihara refers to Mahayanic or something to do with Mahayana. Because I remember when I was a child reading Buddhism, I remember in Polonnaruwa age, on the Sandakadapahana, previously there was previously there was the cow, but that was later removed. One way or the other, now I'm confused. Do you remember what I'm saying? So in the Sandakadapahana, I believe at one period the cow was also represented,
Yeah.
lion, cow,
Yeah.
horse, and whatever.
Yeah.
And I believe in the Polonnaruwa period, the cow was removed, and I thought it was because of the Hindu influence,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? But
Because
that is
lot of Brahmins came from India
right. So
and
they didn't
settled.
want to step on the cow, so
Yeah.
they removed the cow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I remember right, the there was a uproaring of Mahayanic tradition around the same period. I don't know if it's the same king anymore. I can't remember my history anymore. Uh, but I thought during the Abhayagiri period or Abhayagiri, something to do with Abhayagiri, if I remember right. So Theravadins were shrinking, Mahayana was growing.
Yeah.
What exactly, if you remember, I mean, if there's too much of a distraction to our current discussion, we can maybe come back to it later. But I'm trying to understand within the context Theravada versus Mahayana, because nowadays Mahayana seems to be more of the Eastern religion. When I say Eastern, the Chinese,
Yeah.
Japanese, Korean religion, it has more become a geographical disperse than philosophical disperse, I guess. Well, there's philosophical doctrinal differences as well. And
Yeah.
there, go please.
So Theravada is, so now you know Only arahants were taken for the councils, sangayanas.
I see. So that itself was a mistake. Well, I guess it's a
Not
mistake.
a mistake. For the purity and good intention, purity of the doctrine and for good intention, they did that. But there were more monks
Then
uh,
Arahants. Mm.
than arahants, and they did all kinds of things. And they were mahasangika because they were majority.
Mm. Mm.
Some people didn't like so many rules. They wanted to live free, and they had other intentions. They were not
Mm.
yet ready for enlightenment. So it's like that. And they began using money, or they began. I mean, even Theravada monks now use money, but
Right.
looking at that time, it was a huge deal.
Right.
Storing food and going for food at night, you know, things that were not
Traditionally
practiced.
considered good
Yeah,
practice. Right.
yeah. Um,
Okay. So that's the difference. So the first councils were constricted to only Arahants, but I'm guessing not. I mean, even in Buddha's time, not all monks were Arahants, right? So some that's a higher state of mindfulness. To begin with. So the separation here is based on who was invited or who was allowed to take part in the first council, Buddhist council.
yes,
I see.
because they hated not being allowed
And they
in.
formed their own one.
They formed their own one, and it also divided into 18 and later to other ones.
I see. Is that so? Is that separation somehow related to the Mahayana tradition that came to Sri Lanka during the Polonnaruwa period?
Yes,
Okay, so
because
we're talking.
it broke into different branches,
Mm-hmm.
and one of those branches came and managed to have a
Big
strong relationship with the king.
king, right?
The king began supporting because he liked there was nothing else stronger, so then it becomes powerful. Like
I
Japanese people going everywhere in the world now putting their money to establish samachetyas. And who anybody who doesn't know anything about Buddhism would think that that is Buddhism.
What is the Samachetya? Come to think of it, because I don't think I
He,
know.
they go to every part of in the world. You know, there are several samachetyas in Sri Lanka, like a huge, beautiful pagoda, and there
Mm-hmm.
is a man to look after the place.
Mm,
It's a job for
I
that
see.
person.
I
But
see.
beautiful, beautiful chaitya
I see.
in a one of the remarkable, good site places. If you Google in Gaul in Rumasala, there is one.
But that doesn't have anything to do with Buddhism itself.
It is Buddhism, but people think it's a later development if
Ah,
of Buddhism.
okay.
So Sagalika, if you it so it's not the caste. I said it wrong there. It's a
Okay.
monk named Sagalika, and it started from him,
Oh, okay.
and later became known as Jetavana because Jetavana became popular.
Okay.
Okay, so but again Mahayana, it's an Indian monk.
Mahayana is also a name for a monk. No, Mahayana is just
It belongs to Mahayana.
Mahayana, right? Okay. So I think we diverted on the book because the book started talking about the king adapting. Where was it?
Yeah,
That's where we started going down
yeah.
this rabbit hole.
So for your lunch, what time are you going to stop?
Um, I guess we can take a break now. It's 12:05 locally. It's
Yeah,
probably, and we've been going on for about 1.5 hours now.
yeah. So let's take a break
Okay.
and have lunch. Maybe. Are you going to eat?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So then take about whatever time, 45 minutes?
Sure thing.
Sure. Yeah.
So maybe
And
back at 1, 2 o'clock your time.
yeah, so it's 1:06 from my time. Let's meet at 12:50 your time.
Sure thing. Let's do that. 12:50 would work. All
All
right,
right.
Bante.
So
I'll see you at
I can.
12:50. Yes.
Yeah, you have the link. So yeah, see you at 12.
Okay.
Yeah,
07.
Kiran Senai.